Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Kerfuffle showcase. And it's a little bit of more than a showcase today. Really excited to say we've actually got a launch event here today with the guys from Offr. Philip, Peter, delighted to have you on. How are you both?
Yeah, really good. Morning, Simon.
Excellent, good. That's good. Now, just for full disclosure, we have been having gremlins, haven't we? So anything that goes on is purely, and people will expect this. They will know that it's all kerfuffle related. It's nothing to do with you guys. Okay, so bear with us, guys. We've got a few things we're going to show you, but most importantly and most excitingly of all, we want to talk to you guys. It is a launch, but it's a launch only in the UK, isn't it, chaps? Because actually, you've got a bit of an exciting background. Who wants to kick off just in terms of give us a brief overview of what Offr's all about?
Yeah, well, thank you, Simon. I suppose what we just like to start with is, what is Offr? That is the bottom line. What is Offr? Offr is a button that sits on an estate agent's website and allows them to conduct transactions, property transactions, be it traditional private treaty sales, auctions, or lettings, all within the panel that's on their own website. They can engage with buyers, engage with sellers, and go from pre-sale to completion on that panel.
Got you. And I think you said to us offline, what's really important, whilst there is an online auction element about it, it's far more than that, isn't it? The whole Offr proposition here. You've been launched now in Ireland for how long exactly?
We launched in Ireland last September, October 2019. So we've been very, very active there. And we're leading with the auction and traditional sale piece. We will have the new homes product available. It's imminent, as in weeks rather than months. And we will also have the lettings product in Q4 of this year. But we've been very, very active in Ireland over the last 10 months.
Okay.
I was just going to say, Simon, and I've just come on board about 3 or 4 weeks ago to work with the guys to sort of head up the expansion into the UK. So very, very early days, but we're having some very interesting and exciting conversations at the moment.
So, and as everyone will know you, apart from, of course, your exceptional guitar playing, your illustrious, obviously, career within agency now. Yes, you just said taken over head of agency for Offr in the UK. So that's got to be quite exciting new departure for you, hasn't it, Peter?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I've been in and around the estate agency industry now 38 years. I think I've done just about every job from negotiator through to I was head of sales at Hamptons, as you know. I've also been involved in prop tech in my time as well, also marketing, bit of franchising. So hopefully I'm looking forward to engaging with the estate agency community of the UK because this is a product for everybody.
And what was it? I mean, what was it that really caught your eye when you first spoke to Philip about this?
Good question, Simon, because I think, part of my job when I was at Hamptons is that I was evaluating a lot of the prop tech that's out there. And I was seeing, 3 or 4 suppliers a month. And the first question I always asked them was, what problem is it you're trying to solve? Yeah. And what I often found is that a lot of fantastic tech out there, some really, really clever, bright people, but they didn't fundamentally understand the estate agency business. And I think what really resonated for me when I first met the guys from Offr was the fact that this is a system built by agents for agents. Philip has been an agent for 30 years in Ireland. Rob Hoban, the CEO, has an illustrious career with Savills, Allsop and BidX1 in Ireland as well. So they really understand what agency is all about. And the fact I've just moved away from an operational role in the UK, I've been very, very close to the sharp end. I understand the challenges of every job role, right the way through from administrator to regional director. And Offr really does solve a lot of problems and just makes the whole process slicker, easier, and more efficient and more transparent for the customer, most importantly.
I think sorry, go on.
No, I'm just going to say, Simon, who we came from originally when this was developed, our view was that nobody enjoys the experience of buying and selling property. It is it's long, it's drawn out, it's stressful, it's painful. You look at the UK, the average time they're saying for the traditional sale now is in the region of 170, 180 days. From an estate agent's perspective, from a let's call a spade, from a business and a profitability perspective, what other business in the world does somebody operate in, and it takes 180 days for a transaction to complete, and there's still a 1 in 3 chance that they won't even get paid? And I'm just talking about the traditional private treaty product. So from that perspective, the industry is it's 150 years old. It's comes from a legal system which goes back 150 years and has not moved with the times. But I think what is driving this now is that it's becoming unprofitable for agents with increased regulation, with the extra time, like the pain points in the traditional property sale are mainly communicative and administrative. What we're doing is we're allowing the agent to control the retain. It's vital that the agent is retained in the process. They need to handhold, they need to advise, they need to value, they need to show the properties, they need to negotiate. It's vital that the seller or the vendor has somebody, an expert, to look after them. But what must be done is digitize. The future is the agile agent. That's our view. Yeah. So from that perspective, the agent must be able to function remotely 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And that's what we believe, that our tech is the best that's out there in delivering that. And we have obviously very, very big plans. We've just completed a fundraise. We went out to raise 1.5 million, and we raised 3 million, and we were delighted to see. We just completed the Barclays Techstars Accelerator program in London, and we're delighted that Barclays have now come on as one of our lead investors, which is very, very exciting for us.
It absolutely is, Philip. I mean, one of the things that jumped out at me, even before you announced Peter joining your ranks and everything else, was let's be honest, you see some prop tech launches that are done on the back of a fag packet, kerfuffle. but some of them obviously have a real vision, have a really strong team, and have some serious backing. And Offr is just a big tick in all of those boxes. Again, I've seen a number of those, though, that still don't actually have the product to, kind of match. Where I started getting, all excited was when you were showing me the simplicity of the Offr proposition, and then talking about some of those agents. I can't claim to know the Irish agency market as well as obviously you guys, but I certainly know it, I think, as well as anyone in the UK. And I think I can say, can't I, that people like Sherry Fitzgerald are on board with this.
Sherry Fitzgerald, the largest property agency firm in Ireland, of 100 branches, formerly owners of Marsh & Parsons. We are providing their auction technology around the country, and have been doing so for some months now. We're also engaging with them. There will be some key announcements, like our product is for both residential and commercial property. It doesn't matter to us. And there's going to be some key announcements in the coming weeks with some of the very, very big international commercial agencies as well who are going to be using the product. But in Ireland, we have been, we have real traction in Ireland, and we're only now commencing in the UK. COVID, in one way, enhanced and the need for, like, what's happening now. It's quite clear in the last couple of days. There's a realization dawning now, I think, with all of us, that unfortunately, and I emphasize that, unfortunately, COVID is going to be with us for a year or two. It really is. And from that perspective, it even expedites or makes it more important for the agent to become remotely and digitally independent.
Yeah. And I think the key thing there is, again, isn't it? Regarding all the normal caveats around. Obviously, none of us wish this to happen, but the pandemic is an agent for change, and actually, what will come out on the other side is a far more efficient system, without a shadow of a doubt, that ultimately the consumer wants. And that for me that's just, regardless how we got here, we've got it quicker than we probably would have, but actually it's going to be a better solution all round.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you guys looked at this, obviously, and Sherry Fitzgerald, an amazing business over there, as you said, Marsh and Parsons, previous owner, working with greats like Peter Rawlings and everything else there. What was it that they really that attracted them? What was the problem they were trying to solve? Was it just as simple as that? We've got an antiquated system.
Well, what our product allows, there are two key areas. If you look at the product that we're providing to Sherry Fitzgerald, the online auction product, where we believe that it's really attractive to them is you have agents who have never provided auction facilities before for whatever reason. And they could be agents who are not comfortable carrying out auctions or don't understand or get auctions. They can now provide auctions, a new revenue stream to onboard our product. There are no setup costs. So from that perspective, they can now create a new potential revenue stream that they may not have focused in on before. And secondly, then you have agents who heretofore have provided an in-room facility and have now acknowledged, accepted, realized that that's going to be on hold. We believe that and Offr, we can provide a live stream through Offr if required. Our medium to long term view is that the auction room will become less and less relevant as the years go on because of the logistical challenges, and because the consumer, we're finding that buyers, for example, we had an auction of a large plot of land here only 3 weeks ago, and it was 7 lots auctioned it was actually on a Saturday. And it was very interesting. This happened to be all agricultural land, and all of the lots sold, and it was great, and the reserves were hit and exceeded, etc., etc. But you can imagine agricultural land, a very traditional, a lot of farmers, etc., etc. You would have thought that it was really challenging for them. But what happened was, it came through. They found the tech very, very easy to use, but also they were much more comfortable bidding anonymously, as opposed to having to face their neighbor, etc., or people that they may know or engage with. So that was an interesting analysis, something that came out of that particular scenario. So from our perspective, it's delivering an online auction facility to people who may not have used it before, or those who have been using the physical auctions and are migrating to the online auctions.
Yeah, and in the UK, Simon,
I have heard it.
Sorry, you go.
No, go ahead, Peter. No, over to you.
All I was just going to say is in the UK, I think only about 2% of sales are auction sales at the moment. It is a growing market. So this could provide a very easy additional revenue stream for a lot of agents. And some of the conversations Philip and I have had with UK agents just in the last few days, the penny has dropped with them that, there could be more distressed stock coming to the market in the coming months. It gives them an immediate advantage dealing with the asset management companies, because the asset management companies, if they're selling distressed stock, can have access into the Offr system, and they can see all the information on one screen of what's happening with that property. Because I remember the days of trying to sell repossessed properties, and you spend half your time filling out forms and getting chased by the lender every 5 minutes. But with this, all the information is there in one easy, accessible place. And I think the barrier of entry to an auction sale now is probably the easiest it's ever been. I mean, we can get the Offr button up and running on an agent's website in minutes, and they can start conducting an auction. Simple as that.
I think you're absolutely right in terms of, as well, talking to some of the auction people over here, and them admitting that actually auction rooms can be terribly testosterone driven areas, can't they? And actually, as we know, the fairer sex obviously have a massive part to play in most home moves. So for them to almost feel like a bit uncomfortable in one of the main areas of being able to get rid of it, it's a very strange dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost as easy as eBay. I mean, there's a lot of similarities with the way that the system would work. Trouble is, when you tap the button, you're spending a little bit more money than maybe you would be doing on eBay.
I was going to say, don't start telling me about that. That's my particular weakness. Actually, let's pick up on this. One of the things that I absolutely love is that you have thought about that kind of the online auction experience and to prevent that exact thing happening with the as it does with eBay, doesn't it, where you can jump in at a minute to go or actually seconds to go. You obviously have that really clever extension process, don't you, in an online auction, whereby if somebody does come in relatively close, is it within a minute of the end of the auction?
Yeah.
Then it prolongs it again, doesn't it, to stop that kind of last minute clever clugs jumping in, and that actually helps guarantee the best possible price, doesn't it? Because it can keep ticking over for some minutes after the actual normal end of the auction.
Yeah, it's amazing how late some people come in. We saw a big auction in prime property in the centre of Dublin 3 or 4 weeks ago, where the winning bidder didn't come in until 10 seconds into the last extension, and then it triggered on. There were about 4 or 5 different extensions, and the price went up about another 100,000 in those 5 minutes, and the property sold well over the reserve price, top money, and there were 4 or 5 people competing against each other. Very exciting to watch, actually.
It's amazing. No, genuinely, you've taken us through a few of those, and having seen how the Aussies do it over there as well, you're getting a bit of that kind of that pizzazz, as it were, for what should be an exciting time, right? I mean, it's the biggest purchase of your life and everything else there, and to secure the best possible price by doing auctioneering is I think just such an obvious way to go with this. I think what you're talking about there, though, Peter, is that people have just been habitualized by eBay to do that, though, haven't they? Really.
Yeah, absolutely. And the key thing to also make here, Simon, is that the agent is in complete control of all of this. They can set the reserve, they can set the bid increments, they can set how long the extensions are. It is so easy to set up, and you can change things mid-flow as well. If the auction isn't going as you wanted it to, you can change things on the fly, and it literally all happens in real time.
Would it help if we brought up the widget so that people can see it on the screen and maybe have a look?
Here's something that's very interesting, and we were touching on it earlier. We had a world first, and we were very chuffed in the last 2 weeks. We had a property that was sold on, you can see that's an agent, a commercial agent, mixed, a smaller commercial agent in Dublin, and also does small bit of residential called Artis. And you can see there, so that's the property page. That's an actual property that's coming up for sale in the next 3 or 4 weeks. If you look down the bottom right hand corner, that's the Offr widget. That you can minimize that, but also we have that button sitting on the portal. myhome.ie in Ireland is the second biggest portal, and we see this as a key part of the future. So this was the first time that a property was sold while the button sat simultaneously on the agent side and on the portal side, and that happened only 2 weeks ago. As far as we're aware, that hasn't happened anywhere in the world before. So there you are. Yeah.
So there in the bottom right-hand corner, for people that can see it, nice little just simple widget, or the Offr widget, and by clicking on that, it opens up what we were just looking at before, where you can see further information, register, make the bids, and you also have things like you have almost like a due diligence room, don't you, where you have all the legal documents stored as well as everything there? Yeah,
what we've introduced, in the past, you would have heard about data rooms for large commercial transactions that take place. We've introduced, and we did this 12 months ago in Ireland when we started out, we've introduced a data room for every single property on the platform, irrespective of whether it's auction or traditional sale, whether it be lettings. And in that data room, any documents that are relevant to that particular transaction can be uploaded by parties that the agent gives permission to do so. So that, but for example, the seller. So what we do is we engage with the seller before the property goes to market, and we work with the seller and we say, look, these are the documents you need. The system sends you, these are the documents you need to provide with to your solicitor to assist them to prepare the contract. Their solicitor now also gets a login into this data room and can download those documents. So now you have all of the relevant stakeholders plugging into the individual data room, and that's something that we believe is key. Another feature which is really, really important is from an agent's perspective, if they're getting offers in on properties, and like it's, the name of our product is Offr. That's where we started out. But receiving offers by phone, by text, by WhatsApp, by email, people might physically call into the office. That's 5 different ways. So what we're doing is we're funneling it into one channel. So basically, They must register to bid. The agent decides what level of security they require, AML, KYC documents, so proof of funds, proof of ID, proof of address. The agent then must approve these people to bid. In the auction scenario, what we do is we take a pre-auth before the auction, similar to a hotel booking. So we took a pre-auth of 5,000. When the property reaches reserve and sells, the money is released to the unsuccessful buyers, and the successful purchaser is the 5,000 is taken. So from that perspective, it's now all of the offers are coming into the one location, and also the agent, who's in full control, and this is totally customizable from the agent's perspective, has sight of every single item or action that takes place on that sale from day one. They have a history, date, and time stamped. So they now can provide the proof required. I always say one of the biggest complaints in my time, my background, Peter alluded to there. I was in the family business for 22, 23 years, and then I was CEO of a nationwide group of estate agents in Ireland. And I like to think I was a good agent. But the biggest complaint I ever got was, you never came back to me. Okay. Now we all know that chances are you did go back to them, but you couldn't contact them. But now, using the Offr system in the private treaty scenario, if an offer comes in on a property and you go chasing somebody and go to contact them, there's now a record of, and you can provide that proof.
Yeah, I think what you're saying as well, Philip, and you mentioned it earlier, is look, first of all, technology is all about providing speed, transparency. That can only help any process, can't it? But secondly, it's really important to point out that you aren't some flag waving kind of, anarchist coming in here trying to say a state agency is a broken flush, we're here to be this disruptive wave. You're talking very firmly about a clear evolution, but placing the agents still at the very center of that as the consultative element, isn't it? And that's crucial. So, for example, the offers don't go straight through to the vendor without you actually getting involved, do they?
No.
Yeah.
The entire process and panel is managed and controlled by the agent. They even decide who gets to place an offer. They decide what level of security, as I mentioned earlier, and they are in control at all. All we're doing is providing them with the platform to deliver this. We're not telling them how to do their business. We're just providing them with the platform to make the process much, much more efficient.
Yeah, cool. And we mentioned obviously the agents are, just bombarded obviously by suppliers in general, but specifically prop tech. What sets you apart, do you think? What makes you stand out from the other prop tech companies that are out there?
Good looks, maybe.
That's why we got you on the Kerfuffle show. We're all about the look.
If you believe that, you'll believe anything. But anyway, look, we believe we are, and one of the things that we discuss readily, and it's great we have Peter on board in relation with his vast experience in the UK sector, and we've discussed this many times, that the probably the best estate agent in the UK is potentially the worst tech guy in the UK, because his expertise lies in selling property or valuing property, and that's our starting point. So what we do is we're acutely aware that you have the average age of the estate agent in the UK is 50 years of age.
Yeah,
that itself creates a challenge, and we know there is a myriad and a haze of prop tech offerings out there. Now, we obviously like to think that we're about to provide the holy grail, etc., etc., etc. But then we wouldn't be a startup if we didn't. But we genuinely believe we have, because we have the tech, we've a serious tech, we've a brilliant CTO, but we believe we have the property expertise there to take on board the agent's consideration. So what we do also then is when we start with an agent, we say, look, we know you've been doing things a different way or a particular way for 40 or 50 or 30 years, whatever the amount of time is. You've been doing it, you've been making money, but it's becoming inefficient. They are very intimidated. It's not, from their perspective, it's not like just downloading an app and suddenly starting to use Offr. It's a journey. So what we do is we say from the start, whether it be a traditional sale or an auction property, We say we will bring you through that first or second sale, and if you need us there for the third sale, we are happy to do overkill, rather than, because they need to become comfortable, because you're fundamentally changing how they've always run and done their business. It's not just this is an infrastructure. This is not just a small piece of tech. This is going to fundamentally change how they spend their days working.
I think that really resonates with me. When we opened in Australia, we had Australia's best agent at the time over there, a guy called James Tostovan. And although we were very pleased, he used to generate $5-6 million of listings himself for the office per annum, prospecting wizard. And so we were very proud to, if you like, be able to shout about him using the software. The truth of the matter was he barely ever went near a computer. He was, it was all about, he saw the efficiencies. Don't get me wrong. His PA used it there, but for him, it was communication, what it could do, anything that could make him quicker and more efficient. He was all over. Otherwise, he just found it, a bit too shiny. So yeah, get that. Get it entirely. Okay. And so what do you think your key successes have been so far, especially obviously with the Irish agents who have been finding it?
Well, from our perspective, we in last March, I think we mentioned, I think to you previously before the call, that we conducted what we believed was the first ever digital transaction in the world, where every party involved in the transaction was based remotely. From our perspective, that had never happened before, and we were very enthused by that. And it was just, if you think back, that was March, so it was the beginning of the lockdown. So and there's no doubt, as I mentioned earlier, the lockdown has focused the minds of a lot of people, unfortunately. But that wasn't the first one. The second one, obviously key for us, was the simultaneous success between the portal and the agent's website on the property 2 weeks ago, because we believe that is going to become something significant.
Yeah, and realistically, by the way, that will just sound like, sort of like tomorrow's world and jetpacks to many agents in the UK here. But actually, it's just about having a can-do attitude, because now you've got the technology there, isn't it? Really, all it needs is the different parties to come together to make that thing not a one-off, but actually almost an everyday occurrence.
Yeah. If I could just go back on one point that Phil raised a moment ago about this data room, because I think this is the biggest problem agents have got at the moment, is the time it's taking from getting, first going out to see the property, getting instructed and getting the property on the market. We can do the signing of the agency agreements all through the Offr button using DocuSign. That will save time. All of the AML stuff can be done through the Offr button. And also, trying to get a property exchange ready when you put it on the market. If it's a leasehold property, let's get the lease on there. Let's get the management pack. Let's get everything that you need. Yeah. And I know a lot of agents are doing this at the moment, but they're doing it in a myriad of different ways. Very often, solicitor might have their system, another lawyer's got another system, another agent's got their system. But with this, everything, you've got one single version of the truth that everybody can have access to. And then a potential buyer can come along and he can see everything there, be it an auction or a private treaty sale. So I think that is solving, I think, the biggest problem that estate agents have at the moment. It's the time it's taking. And Phil referred earlier, it can be a year from MA through to you actually getting paid. And some of the agents I'm talking to at the moment, they were telling me that August and July, they had some of the slowest pipeline churns that they'd ever seen in their business. Good business should earn, 33-35% of their pipeline every month. One business I spoke to yesterday, 20% they've had for the last 3 months. This has got to speed it up.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it? It's got to, and actually anything that can stop that fragmented process. As you said, there are kind of bitty solutions out there at the moment, aren't there? But this promises to actually bring that all together in a very succinct way, which of course can only be good. And it's such an obvious place to have it, isn't it? Obviously at the Offr stage, so to speak, there.
And on the agent's website, you're not sending people off to third or fourth parties. It's all absolutely right in front of them. And in fact, comments we've had back from a couple of agents we've spoken to this week is Offr is actually doing the job of 3 or 4 other bits of software which they might have bought months ago and they've never touched. In fact, wasn't it a stat that you once came up with, Simon? The average agent, was it about a dozen bits of prop tech they've purchased over 5 years?
We did. we did a white paper last year on suppliers, and we asked agents how many bits of, and this is just a state agency kit they were using, not things like obviously, you know, telephones or cars or electricity needed in the office per se. They thought they were using, I think they thought they were using 14, but that was a gut feel. We then asked them to list all of theirs, and on average, the average agent has 20 bits of kit, which is incredible, really, and everything they're doing, and they do identify that as being one of their frustrations, that they feel like they have a Jenga tech stack, you know, not particularly well tied together as well, multiple logins, multiple silos of information. And all of that is stopping them doing what they want to just do on a daily basis. So yeah, I can well believe that this could be a solution towards that.
Yeah, this one business we're talking to at the moment, this replaces 4 bits of software that they're actually currently paying for. So we're actually going to be saving the money as well.
Always nice in any market, and crucially, the success of any of. Sorry, go.
No, sorry, there's just a time lag there. Apologies. No, just before I'm preempting a question. You know, people will say, well, what about CRMs and integration? We believe that the future, and this is key to our platform and the development and the ongoing adding of features, etc. We have already integrated with the likes of Stripe for online payments. So also with Onfido from an AML check perspective. We've also integrated with DocuSign. So a key part of our offering is digital signatures. So that's at the time. So you can imagine at the moment, if we're running an auction, the agent is signing on behalf of the purchaser and the seller and has been given authority by them in advance, and it's a fully legally binding contract. The amount of time that saves. So, and in relation to integrations with the CRMs, you know, in the UK, you probably have up to maybe 20 different CRMs. You might have 5 CRMs that have 80% of the market. We're actively engaging with them and working, because what I will say though is that one of the big problems and one of the complaints agents make is about duplication. Am I going to have to enter a particular piece of information 5 or 6 or 7 times?
Yes.
One of the key advantages of our product is it's removing a huge amount of the administrative work from the agent. So, for example, the agent puts the property up on the platform and literally just puts the address of the property and an image. And what happens now is it is the buyers who are entering all of the information. So and all the agent is doing is receiving and approving information. So receiving offers, receiving documents, and just approving them. So there is very, very little input from the agent's perspective regarding data. And so from that perspective, integrations, albeit important in the future, they are not key to the development of the whole thing.
That's really interesting to know. And yes, that was going to be one of my questions, but then I'm a train spotter for CRM, so you'd expect that. I think that's and look, as I say regularly now, this might have been an issue a few years ago with the CRM companies being very defensive and gated keepers of the data. You know, they might be moving a little bit slowly for people, but actually almost all the major ones now are going down the right path, aren't they, of wanting to do that. So that shouldn't be so much of an issue. And critically, look, we can talk about the features and the benefits. Ultimately, what will define the success of this, you know, to a large degree, with how simple the application is to use. Now, look, famously, obviously, I think this is why my parents named me Simon. Simple Simon. Even I could see within seconds how easy your UI was, your interface. I mean, is it as simple as it looks?
Yes, it is. Yeah, go on ahead there, Peter.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's literally a few lines of code which just sit on the agent's website. I mean, I'm doing demos at the moment with a number of different agents, and I'm not the most proficient IT person in the world, but I can set up a demo on an agent's website. Takes me about 5-10 minutes.
Wow.
And the key thing that hasn't come out yet is that this is all done in the agent's branding, in their colors, and we simply upload their logo, we match the Pantones, and literally within seconds, I can produce the button exactly as they would want it. All the different features and the ribbon along there, each one of those features can be customized as well, included or not included. So this is really, it's customizable within an inch of its life, because it's there to try and work with lots of different sized businesses in the UK. You know, we're talking to single office independents at the moment, and also we're talking to some of the largest groups in the UK. Some franchise groups as well, who said, look, you know, franchisee wants this over here and that over there. Absolutely fine. We can do that. You can fine tune it for every office, every property if you want to.
I think
I bet you are, Peter. One of the things I said to you and Philip was kind of let me loose with this. I can't see that there's too many demographics of agent that shouldn't be having at least a conversation to see how this fits in.
Once they go through that onboarding process and they become comfortable with it and they become confident, and they're absolutely loving it. And something Peter said there, which is very, very relevant, you know, this is a white label product. This is in the agent's own colors and branding. There are some very, very good pieces of tech out there that address particular parts of the transaction. We believe we have the answer to, and it's not going to happen overnight. It will be phased as we release the different products over the next 12 months, that we will be dealing with the entire transaction. And also at the moment, when with a lot of the pieces of tech that are available there, the agent is being driven to a third-party site, is to provide, that's where it takes place. In this instance, it takes place, it's simply a panel that sits on top of the agent's website.
Yeah.
So they're keeping their customers on their website. And we believe that's...
And Philip, you'll be more than aware these days, that's a real bee in the bonnet of many agents, isn't it? That people try to bounce them away from their website. Everything they're trying to do is get them away from the portals onto their own website, and wherever possible, keep them on there for as long as they can, can't they?
You can control the messaging once they're there as well. And in fact, that's the other thing. When the offer button opens up, there's a little welcome message. You can customize that. You can say whatever you want it to say. You can also customize the access that your members of your team want to have into there as well.
Yeah. I feel a little bit cheeky asking this next one because you've launched today, and I'm already going to say, you know, what does the future hold? How do you see the product evolving? What plans have you got that you can tell us about?
Well, from our perspective, we have launched into the UK market the auction product and the private treaty offering product. We will be, I mentioned earlier, we have a new homes, a very, very slick new homes product, which is developed and ready to rock and roll. And that will be pushed out to the market over the coming weeks. In Q4 of this year, we have a lettings product. And then our plan is for 2021 is that we will have a commercial lease product. So ultimately what it'll mean from the agents, you see, 80% of agents in the UK run what we term a general practice. So you go to the likes of even, if you go into London, a lot of practices or agencies sell property, and some of them let as well, but then you've niche who do one or the other. You go outside London and most practices are general practices who do a bit of everything. They do, say they carry out sales, valuations, lettings, it's maybe a small bit of commercial, etc. This will allow ultimately agents to carry out all of these within the same panel, as Peter said earlier, without having 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different pieces of tech to manage those processes.
Yeah. And the integration, Simon, as well, just to come back on that, the agents we're talking to that want to trial this, you know, they don't have to go through a massive installation process and, you know, you literally put this line of code on. And if they want to test it with just 1 or 2 properties, they can do that. You know, the button only appears on the properties that they decide to put onto the Offr system. So I think the first...
Don't ruin the end, but the money shot at the end, because we've got a particularly exciting thing that will allow them to try that as well. But we're coming to that one. I think you're right there. I was going to ask you about that, Peter. Given that it is so simple to get that up on there, how long does that onboarding process, you know, to get them actually up and out there, able to deliver on this for most agents? How long does it take, do you think?
Minutes, literally minutes.
Minutes in terms of getting up on the website, getting comfortable with the proposition as well. It's going to. Do you handhold them in terms of advising them on that kind of part of the process?
Absolutely. As obviously as Philip and I work in the UK, and we have a support team based over in Dublin as well that are also doing a lot of hand holding. But obviously, with the first few agents come on board, you know, I'm actually going to be sitting in their offices, working with them, and seeing those transactions all the way through from listing through to exchange.
And then knocking out a power ballad on your guitar once you're finished.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is key, Simon. There is no doubt. They must be assisted in the. I'll give you an example of a very, very successful onboarding we had recently. We were contacted 3 weeks ago by an Irish agent who had organised and marketed a property to be sold by public auction on a particular date. Suddenly, the government, as they're wanting to do at the moment in the UK and Ireland, changed their mind overnight. And all of a sudden, they couldn't hold this physical auction. Therefore, they already had their interested parties, okay? But it was still a few days away from the auction and they couldn't hold it. So they said, what do we do? So what we did was, within 2 hours, we had the line of code set up and the button up on their website. The property was sold 7 days later, and contracts were signed 15 minutes after the auction. So that's how quickly, and we handheld them through that process because it was their first, because they must become comfortable with it. So that's how quickly it can be done. And they weren't particularly, they were what I would call your normal estate agents. They were comfortable-ish with technology.
But they weren't like techies, were they? These young techie agents, just normal agents, just seeing how they could do it in a slightly different fashion.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Exceptional. You mentioned there, obviously, you spoke about some of the CRMs. And are there other kind of suppliers that you see natural sort of partnerships happening within the industry as well?
Well, yeah, as we move along. So, for example, the portals obviously are potential to be, and that is driven by the agents, really. If the agents want the property to be on the portal, our customer, and we come to that in a few moments, our customer is the agent. So we want what's best for the agent. Okay. So if the agent demands it, we will work with the portals. We will work with, for example, Barclays being one of our investors. We are acutely aware that some of the problems that take place in a property transaction are to do with the lending piece. Okay. Yeah. Our plan is that to be able to integrate and work with the banks, not just Barclays, because it won't work otherwise unless you have everybody plugging in. So we can work with the banks to assist if there's a lending process going in parallel with a sale process, that we can work with the bank, whether it be to assist from the valuation end of things, and not that we carry out the valuation, but we would facilitate the uploading and the instruction, etc., that type of thing. We've already spoken to a couple of banks about that. So it's all about identifying. What we did at the very, very start was we looked at the traditional property transaction and we said, that's taking 180 days. What are the 20 pain points? And then we said, how can we affect and assist and make those pain points more efficient and reduce the time from, say, I call it, the guys internally joke, I call it the 100-day challenge. So I want that, in my mind, I want that, because I'll always think like an agent, I want that 170, 180 days to go down to 100 days by reducing those, through digitization, by reducing those pain points. Yeah.
Excellent. And in terms of the what sort of agents you're looking to work for, this works across all demographics really, doesn't it? Size, shape of agents, but are you looking for any in particular, like your trailblazers, to get it working over here?
Yeah, I mean, you made a very good point, Simon. Yeah, this works across all markets, all agents, and as Philip said, we're looking at both residential and commercial. I would, the way that some of our initial discussions are going, we're hoping to have the first UK properties live within the next 4 to 6 weeks. And they are a mixture of companies. You know, there's some very small independents there. We've got one agent in particular who is about to open a new office and is going to be using Offr as their part of their launch because they think auctions will be a core part of their proposition. So you'll be hearing about that later in the year. But this is for all agents in all marketplaces, whether you're a technophobe or you really know what you're doing. Someone once described this as technology for technophobes.
One word that comes to mind, Simon, is progressive. We're looking for agents who are progressive, and as Peter said there, they don't have to be strong on their tech, but just they see this change here coming big time. My own particular view, for example, is in 5 years' time, and I would duck my head as the Facebook bombs come in, but I see in 5 years' time the high street agent, and I remember I will always be in a way a high street agent. the need for a high street agent will have fundamentally changed. So, for example, the high street premises, it will be sufficient if the premises is only 2 foot deep. All it is a branding exercise. Yeah. You could have, it's just all you're saying is we sell property in this area. Everything else will happen remotely.
Yeah. And we haven't touched on mobile phone technology yet, Simon, because at the moment, if you think about how you use your mobile phone in a property transaction, you probably use it to maybe look at the property online. You might, with some agents, be able to arrange a viewing, but that's where the journey ends for most people. And it's no coincidence that the Offr button is mobile phone shaped. So you can go from, as a buyer, initial inquiry all the way through to completion on your mobile phone.
And what we didn't mention there, Peter, I think, sorry to interrupt you, what we didn't mention is that through the Offr panel, we've integrated with iSpy 360, Matterport, YouTube videos, you can carry out walkthroughs on each property. You can arrange inspections, even though a lot of agents have their own CRM, which it facilitates arranging viewings, etc. So there are a whole host of other, and the agent people can view the legal documents once they're approved by the agent. So there's a whole host of other features, but the agent decides, he switches or she switches them on or off at the start. They decide what people say.
Yeah, so you're not mandating anything from that point of view there. No, it's great.
I know you do not mandate an agent.
Yeah, or at least try and make it think. At least try and make them think it was their idea. So, brass tacks, guys. What's the commercials? How do the commercials work for this in terms of for most agents?
Do you want to go ahead, Peter? Go ahead, Peter.
Well, for the first few agents that we sign up in the UK, there'll be absolutely no charge, because our standard model is £89 to £99 a month just to keep the lights on as a subscription, and then we would look to take about 0.1% on each transaction. But for the first few agents that we talk to, we will waive all of those fees because we just want to get agents on the system, feeling comfortable with it, and then hopefully start telling the rest of the industry how good it is for them.
We believe so much of the tech, Simon, that what we're saying is that through Kerfuffle, we're saying that the first 2 months there'll be no transaction fees, and the first two, so it's 2 + 2. First 2 months, no transaction fee, and the first 2 properties there'll be no charge. What we're saying to agents is that we all know that fees vary around the country, but you're talking on average for a sole agency, you're probably talking with somewhere between, and depending on whether it's urban or rural, 1% to 2%. Okay, what we're saying is we will be taking in the region of between 5% and 10% of the agent's fee. So they will retain 90 to 95% of the fee themselves, and we will assist them to conduct the auction, which will take place. Everything will take place on their own website.
But very, very cost-effective way of getting started with you, and then essentially your success is tied to their success, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Thank you very much. Yeah, for thinking of our wonderful Kerfuffle members there. That's absolutely great. We'll post that out, obviously, to all of them. It's obviously up on the landing page, and we encourage everyone to go there as well. As we said before, I'm supposed to be PropTech's Willy Wonka, but I couldn't even get a YouTube video working on this. But I'll put that down to the gremlins. But we're posting that on all the different. Places we're showing this now, so I encourage you guys, have a look at how Philip and Peter and the Offr guys, I think there was a Sherry Fitzgerald auctioneer, is that right? So we'll put it out there. Very successful way of showing how they'd used Offr for seven lots, and that was the other. Sorry, was that the other one?
Yes.
Okay,
so that was the most. The one that's posted is a Sherry Fitzgerald property down in the south of Ireland. This was the first property I mentioned earlier, which was the first digital transaction completed 100% remotely by all stakeholders. That was back in March, and that's the one that they'll see. If people, what we want to do for people is they go to the website offr.io and they request a demo. The demo will take probably 45 minutes, and we want people to try it and try it once, and we believe they'll enjoy it that much that they won't stop using it. And that's, you know, the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Absolutely fantastic. So that's great. Well, you've got Mark Brooks has just popped up saying very interesting, Peter. So no doubt you'll be getting a call off Mark if you haven't spoken to him already there. Guys, that's really, really interesting. So this is quite exciting, quite an exciting period for you, isn't it? In terms of you know, we've got a challenging market out there, whatever else, but actually we've also got opportunities here, haven't we? Without a shadow of a doubt. And so I think it'll be really interesting the next time we catch up. When did you say, Peter? 4 to 6 weeks? If we start having it'd be really good, I think, if we have another panel show there, talking to some of those first clients coming on board and hearing from their own mouths exactly how they're using it over here. Because I'm guessing, just like in an island, you'll see some quite innovative ways that the agents will use it and present it in different ways.
Absolutely, and through the demos that we've done already, we've had some really, really good input. And you know, we're doing demos literally every day now. So obviously the word is getting out there with some of the initial promotion that we've done, and hopefully this show today will lead to a few more as well. And Philip and I are available to answer any questions. Will you be putting our contact details up as well? Put our mobiles on there, so we're more than happy.
We put those up. We'll put if it's okay. I'm okay to put your emails up on there afterwards, and we'll post those out in the various groups.
Very briefly, Simon, that something that we didn't allude to is that, and this is something which is also important for agents. What Offr allows agents to do is they can start a property, put it up on the market for sale in the traditional manner. They can then change in mid-flow and change to an auction scenario or a tender at best and final. So, because the agent is in control at all times. So, because some properties it changes. So, for example, if you have a property that goes up for auction and there's little or no interest, you can then flip it into traditional sale and close it out that way. So, it allows them to change mid-flow as opposed to having to make that decision from the outset. What's the best approach? What's the best selling approach?
Yeah, as the market changes, as the particular challenge for the property changes, you know, you're not stuck down a particular road. That is really good, Philip. No, thank you for that.
Yeah, particularly best and final offer scenarios, because I know with the market being quite hot at the moment. I was talking to a yesterday who's had 15 offers on the same property. This would be a perfect funnel to put all of those offers through, because all the offers are then being recorded in a very, very consistent and orderly way. Everything is being date and time stamped, so we know when the information came in, and we can then present everything to the client.
And the buyers love it because the buyers are trusting what's going on, because they know that they've had to go through. The perception out there is that there are a lot more fake bids than there actually are. The problem is perception rules the roost, and the amount of times that people step off the gas because they stop trusting the process. What we're finding is buyers believe and acknowledge and accept that they've had to go through the exact same hoops as the next person, so they trust. There's greater trust in what's going on.
Yeah,
and that's you know, that's so important in every sort of market and deal you put together, isn't it? So that's, and again, another great advantage. Gents, that's fantastic to hear. Wish you the very, very best. We're obviously going to be watching with interest and supporting you wherever we can do. So please, guys, get in contact with Peter or Philip, and we'll post those details. Gents, once more, thanks very much.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks again.